And hi, YouTube. I guess we didn't have an intro today. So, we're here. Welcome to the Untitled Show about nerdy stuff. This is Michael with my usual partner in crime, Tim. How you doing, Tim?
Smashingly.
So you've been drinking?
Well, I haven't been watching the debate, no. But I see Jim is feeling good.
Oh, Jim, well, given the type of things that we're likely to have in the debate tonight, Jim is just as happy as a giant turd could possibly be. Because no matter who wins, he wins.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somehow he ends up smelling better.
Yes. So, oh, goodness. All right, Jim. Yep. Despite our lack of intro, we do have a lot of stuff to talk about today. Number one on the agenda, let's talk about teasers. Because we got, in my opinion, probably the best teaser trailer of the year with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 teaser. Tim, what did you think?
I loved it. The thing I think that I enjoyed the most about it is it as with the previous Guardians film, it's got a completely different look, being as it's out in space, whereas all the other Marvel films have been on Earth, Mm-hmm. But the fact that they've maintained the Marvel humor, that gives me very, very high hopes for it. And I think it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. The whole thing with Drax and Star-Lord having their moment of quiet solace conversation on the ship and talking about, I guess, Star-Lord, from what you kind of gather, was trying to put the moves on Gamora, but it wasn't working out. And it's funny because at first it's very poetic. It starts out with a very poetic motif. And it works so well with the action that they're showing while you hear Drax doing the voiceover where he says that there are two kinds of people in the universe, those that dance, and they show Star-Lord doing his thing, and those who do not, and they show Gamora. And I was really into it at that point. I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. And then Star-Lord looks at it and goes, yeah, I get it. Gamora's not right for me. And he's like, you need to find a woman who is pathetic, like you. I
love Batista because they give him just enough screen time, for humorous effect, and because he's not, like we discussed before we went on the air, he's not an actor, mm-hmm. And but he does really well with the lines he's given, and of course then he's there for Braun as well. So you know,
but yeah, absolutely. The teaser itself is. Every moment of it is enjoyable to the reminiscing. They played the same music they played in the first teaser for the first Guardians of the Galaxy, Hooked on a Feeling. And it works so well because as soon as you hear that music, you're like, oh yeah, we are back in this universe. All they did was play the hook of that song while you see an empty corridor at the beginning of this teaser, and you're like, I'm in. I'm on board. I am ready for this movie. Unfortunately, we've got to wait till next summer.
Have they said who the villain's going to be yet?
I'm not sure. I know the Ego is going to be in it.
Right.
Played by Michael Douglas, I believe. Or not Michael Douglas.
No, Ego is...
other old-timey... Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell, that's right. Yeah.
Russell's Ego. And there and of course now we didn't get to see it, but at the Comic-Con footage that was leaked, did you ever hear what happened there?
What, that he's Star-Lord's dad?
Oh, not just that he's Star-Lord's dad, but the big reveal about it.
No.
It's so typical, the same kind of humor that we really enjoyed about this teaser and about the first Guardians. So Kurt Russell is standing there along with Star-Lord and Drax and a couple others, and he's explaining to him that, while this whole planet is him, he took human form, and that's when he met his mother. And And so then Drax looks at him, and you know, everything Drax says is very dry, very straight, never an inflection in it. And he's like, "So you made a human penis?"
Oh, shit. That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
do that. You made human semen as well.
And so, you know, it really sounds like the humor is going to be so good throughout this film. Because I got to say, Guardians is, even though all the Marvel movies are permeated with humor, really, Guardians and Ant-Man are the two true humor movies. You know,
right.
The other ones are action movies with humorous elements. But Guardians and Ant-Man are just funny movies. And
and I think, aren't they filming Ant-Man and the Wasp right now?
I believe so. I think it's supposed to come out in like 2018 or something like that. But man, I am so stoked for Guardians Volume 2. So let's go from the most awesome teaser ever made to crappier, and oh my God, I can't believe this is actually being made. Well, of course, Avengers Infinity War. Yeah, they're going to be in Infinity War. I forgot. They can't hear. James was just like, hey, don't forget they're in Infinity War. And it's like, yeah, duh.
That's why it's called Avengers Infinity War.
Anyway, so let's go to the first. I wouldn't say crap, but I'm leaning towards it's probably going to be crap. And I'll tell you why. And this has absolutely nothing to do with Jim. However, this film is being made by 20th Century Fox, and that makes me very, very nervous because even though everything they're showing us looks like they're following the source material, we're talking about 20th Century Fox. And that is the Assassin's Creed trailer number 2 has dropped. What were your thoughts? You just watched it for the first time a few minutes ago, so what are your thoughts on this trailer?
Well, it's interesting because if you remember the first trailer that they did, mostly showed everything in the medieval times.
Yeah.
This trailer showed a lot more in the future, which opened it up a little bit for me, where I was kind of like, oh, because I'm not a gamer, so I've never played the game before. I have no idea what the hell is. The only thing I've just seen the art for it and stuff with the guy with the cloak and doing parkour off of buildings and stuff, but it gave it a little more dimension, I guess. But I'm still not excited about it just because video game films are notoriously terrible.
Yeah.
But it does have the gravitas, I guess, of Fassbender and Jeremy Irons being in it. Well,
and that's the thing, is that's why I'm really mixed on it, because on the bad side, it's a video game movie. And while I love video games and I love movies, for some reason the two have never been able to get it right, which you would think makes no sense, but whatever. We've had a few earnest attempts. I think Warcraft this last summer was an earnest attempt at trying to make a good video game movie, and they did try. They did some interesting things with it, but the only video game movie that I really, enjoyed was probably going all the way back. There was the original Mortal Kombat, which was a stupid movie, but it was but it was just fun. And then, the first Resident Evil movie I thought was interesting. It wasn't.
Silent Hill was okay, I guess.
And Silent Hill wasn't half bad, but the thing is that those are 3 films out of dozens of movies.
Yes. Most of them end up like Doom.
Yeah, Doom was so horribly bad. Hey, how about, let's not even talk about Super Mario Brothers.
Poor Dennis Hopper. What the hell? Bob Hoskins.
So you have strike one against it, that it's a video game movie, but then, like you said, it's got Jeremy Irons and Michael Fassbender. And it's like, wow, these are 2 really quality guys in lead roles, and Michael Fassbender is the lead. And so that's like, ooh, that could be good. But then this is what killed it for me. and it was in this trailer where I'm like, okay, this movie is probably going to suck. And whenever they have to give the name of the movie in the trailer of that movie,
the Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, he goes, "We've traced your bloodline for 1,000 years to the Assassin's Creed." Oh.
I know it. That drives me nuts, especially when they say it like they did in that trailer, where it's almost like they had to look at the camera of the Assassin's Creed.
That was almost as bad as Will Smith when he was like, "So this is some kind of Suicide Squad," you know?
Yeah.
You know? Oh man, I
yeah.
Oh man, that was painful.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning towards crap on that one. But I don't know. I'm going to see it. I'm not dying to see it, but I will see it when it comes out. Now let's talk about a movie that I will not be seeing in theaters, and that is Titanic 2. This time it's just dudes, or as it's called in the American release, USS Indianapolis, Men of Courage, starring none other than Nicholas, what the hell is he doing in show business, Cage.
You know, it's great because he never once in this trailer am I convinced that he is a military person.
Yeah.
Never once. He doesn't look like he's been through training at all.
Well, it's like when you see that during this trailer, they show him. Apparently, Nicolas Cage is the captain of a battleship that was responsible for delivering the nuclear weapons to the bombers that were going to drop the bomb on Hiroshima, and then they sink. I mean, you know this already just from the trailer. You know, it's like their mission was one of the most celebrated in history, and they show that they're taking this nuclear weapon for the attack on Hiroshima, and it's like it inspired millions, and they said, but what happened next inspired a generation, and then they show the ship gets hit and sinks. It's Titanic with guys. We already know what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, and that shot looks exactly like the shot from Titanic with the boat going down.
I was waiting for. I bet you, I would love it if there was a cameo by Leonardo DiCaprio when
he floats by on a board.
Yeah, and then you could see him just floating by in the background, and then have Nicolas Cage look at the camera and go, "Well, he thought he was king of the world." It's like,
this is a Titanic disaster.
Yes. Oh, it looks absolutely horrible. But during the trailer, there's a part where they show them all on the deck of the battleship, dressed in their Class A's, and he's standing there as like, "I am your captain, you are my crew, and we must function as one unit." And I was like, is he just saying this because he's trying to convince himself? Because I am not buying that this man is a captain in the Navy. No. Oh man. That movie, that's going to be a stinker. But
it looks like one of those movies that desperately thinks it's more important than it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember this film, and it came out. We're talking like 35 years ago or something, but it was an attempt to make a film kind of like Patton, but instead, it was what was it? I think it was called MacArthur. And it was Gregory Peck, if I recall, and it was just so terrible. I think it was financed by Reverend Sung Young Moon, which I thought was interesting, but it's just a terrible film.
Now the sad thing is that USS Indianapolis, Men of Courage, looks like it could be Academy Award-winning material compared to this next one.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't realize this was being done, but it looks like it's a remake because the story is exactly the same as the original, but it's starring the same actor that was in the original back in the early 1990s. And the original was a classic campy martial arts film that I actually have on DVD. And
really?
I love the movie. It's my second favorite movie of his career from back then. And that is Jean-Claude Van Damme in Kickboxer Vengeance. And the story, and here's the thing, I watched the trailer, and it wasn't because the first time I had the sound so low I didn't catch everything, and I assumed it was a sequel because it's called Kickboxer Vengeance. Now, let me tell you what the story of the original 1990s Kickboxer film is. Jean-Claude Van Damme is the little brother of a world-class kickboxing champion who is invited to go to Thailand, which is where Muay Thai, which is one of the most brutal forms of kickboxing, originated. He goes into the ring and ends up getting killed by the Thai champion.
Yes.
And so then Jean-Claude finds a local to train him in Muay Thai, even though, as with all Jean-Claude Van Damme movies back then, no matter what martial art he is learning, and in some, it's been ninjutsu, Muay Thai, Kung Fu, it's always karate.
Yeah.
By the end of the film, it's always karate.
Nobody really does the,
Yeah. But so then he gets trained by the local, becomes confident in Muay Thai, and then challenges him, and of course wins. And in their final fight, they're fighting in the ancient method, which apparently means instead of wearing boxing gloves, you wrap your hands in rope, dip them in resin, and then dip them in broken glass. Okay, so that's the story of the original film.
Yes.
So then I watched the trailer a second time with the audio up, and I realized, it's exactly the same. The only difference is Jean-Claude looks like, all right, I'm going to put up my jukes now, and it's like, wait. And he's going to, and then the Thailandese champion is being played by Dave Bautista.
Yes.
What? Couldn't get an Asian actor to play the world champion Thai boxer?
Yeah.
At least in the original Kickboxer, they actually had an Asian actor playing the champion.
That looks like it has train wreck proportions.
I'm gonna see this in theaters. I tell you,
it's probably fun as hell. It looks terrible.
If I had a Crow T Robot and Tom Servo, I would have them sitting right next to me while I watch this one.
Yeah, it really does look like it's just a mess, but in a good way, I guess. And it's a shame that you're really not going to get Van Damme fighting. I think he's just going to be there to go, like, you can do it.
No, Van Damme, the brother. He's going to fight. You see, he just looks like a pale shadow of what he used to be.
Well, to be honest, let's remember the main reason to see this trailer: fighting on elephants.
And that is the most awesome. So I guess they paid a few bucks to rent a couple of elephants, and then what they did was they built, and it's the sad thing is so obvious. They built a practical version of the back of the elephants so that Jean-Claude and this other guy could be fighting on top of the elephant, but then they keep cutting to the face of the elephant saying, oh yeah, it's a real elephant.
Yeah.
And then they're back on this thing that's obvious that it's like a wooden hull of an elephant that's on like springs, so it's bouncing back and forth as they're fight. It's just so hilarious.
Terrible.
This is going to be great. It's going to be absolutely freaking awesome. I cannot wait to see. So that brings me to a little bit of a rant that I need to make. We've talked about the Marvel shows, and we've talked about DC attempts at shows. I've enjoyed the Flash and Arrow. I didn't like Supergirl, but I like Gotham. I like the DC television cinematic universe, even though it's a pale shadow compared to Marvel. But then, one thing that I did, because people in the modern age trying to save money, keep ends meet and stuff, we got rid of cable stuff. So, and we have like internet, and we do most of our TV watching through services like Hulu, Netflix, and that kind of thing. And one thing I love about Hulu is for all their network TV shows that they put on their service, you can watch the show the next day commercial free. So, like tomorrow, I will be watching South Park that's airing tonight, and there'll be no commercials. So I don't have to fast forward through them on a DVRs. And I love that about it. So CW has pulled all of their shows from, and they signed an exclusive deal with Netflix.
Yep.
Now, I would be fine with that on the surface because I have Netflix, but then in their announcement, and this is what really pisses me off, they have the gall to say, and fans will be happy to hear that they can watch the entire season just as soon as the season finale airs.
Yeah.
Means I don't get to watch any Flash, any Arrow, or anything else from the CW until after the end of the season.
Yep.
I am livid about that. I don't get it. I do not understand why they would do this. If they want people to watch their shows, then make them available. But to do this, it's just like a big F you to the fans.
Yeah, I agree with you. I read that press release and I was like, how do they think that this actually makes sense? Like, yeah. Guess what? You'll be glad to know you have to wait 8 more months.
And I don't get it. I do not get what the heck is going on here. So I am officially saying F you to CW. I am not, I do have an antenna, so I can technically watch the shows recorded on a DVR. No, screw you. I'm not going to give you the pleasure of watching those commercials or watching the shows early enough to where it counts for your ratings. I am, maybe if you say that the seasons were really good, maybe I'll watch them next summer after the season finales air. But I'm really pissed off about this. And it's just one more thing to me to confirm the fact that Warner Brothers should not be in charge of DC properties.
Yeah, I really, when I saw that, you were the first thing that popped into my head. I was like, oh, he's going to love this. Yeah, it's a stupid decision. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I mean, I understand why the CW probably got offered more money by Netflix. I get that, but to take away the next day option, I think is ridiculous.
So speaking of which, let's talk about fall TV.
Sure.
So how the CW show's been so far?
They've been okay. I haven't been as enthusiastic about Arrow for the last couple of seasons, really. But The Flash has been interesting because they did the Flashpoint thing, but they really only kind of did it for the first episode. And then he went back to fix everything. And
so that wasn't a season-long epic thing. It was just like,
well, I mean, now that he came back and everything's pretty much the same with a couple of differences. It's like, okay, now he's got at work, he has Tom Felton from the Harry Potter movies is his new boss in forensics that wasn't there before. And on Arrow, Diggle doesn't have a daughter anymore. Now doesn't have a son, has a daughter. Which I thought was interesting. But for the most part, everything is exactly the same, with just a couple of little things. And now they brought in the Flash villain, Dr. Alchemy. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, what he's trying to do, he's trying to give powers to the characters that had them in Flashpoint, but in the regular timeline. so they can come after Flash and kill him. And, you know, I know what they're going to try and do is they're going to have, remember how last year you had the mystery of who's in the mask, that metal mask. And they're going to probably do the same thing with who's Dr. Alchemy is my guess. Mm-hmm. And really, unless they add some new characters, there's really not many to choose from. But, you know, we'll see. And as for Supergirl, I don't watch that crap.
Well, but Steve Shives says it's great. And,
I love Steve, Jim. But he's insane on this one.
Yeah. And Jim thinks it's awesome, too.
Yeah, Legends of Tomorrow.
Well, how's that?
Well, yeah. I don't know. I think they continue to kind of shoot themselves in the foot by making Rip Hunter one of the most unlikable leads on a show. He's still an insufferable ass that is constantly negative and never gives anybody a compliment. They're always screwing up in his opinion, and yet he continues to withhold information from people. And then when it's revealed, then he acts like a petulant child that he got caught in a lie. They introduced at the very end of the episode. They introduced the Justice Society, and I gotta say, it's. I don't know if you remember the Justice Society episode of Smallville.
Yes.
When they remember how terrible those costumes were?
Yes.
It's like that.
Oh, so like average cosplay.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is like, if you look at the characters, they all have these really dark, they're either dark brown or black costumes, and then Stargirl with her red, white, and blue outfit. And she stands out like a sore thumb. There's no problem with her. They got the costume pretty much accurate, but why is everybody so dark? Why are all the other costumes like one color? It's kind of like the shitty leather X-Men outfits. And, you know, and why isn't the Jay Garrick Flash? Why isn't he in there? We haven't seen him with the JSA, which makes no sense. Where's Dr. Fate? I don't know. And maybe they'll come in later. But after I only watched, they only had the first episode, I think, and it was okay. It just continues to be just very dull.
Yeah.
I don't, and I guess the ratings are way down, and if it keeps up that way, I don't see it going another season because it's frankly not that interesting. To have so many characters and be so dull, I don't know. I mean, now that Captain Cold is gone, Heatwave continues to be the only interesting character because at least he's not goody two shoes and he's got some good lines and. But otherwise it's just kind of dull. They're hinting at. We saw the first two members of the Legion of Doom that they're going to introduce. We'll see, if it holds up. But at this point, I just think it's going to be more of the same.
Yeah, and I actually just found a picture of the Justice Society as portrayed in Legends of Tomorrow standing. Or is that the Legends of Tomorrow version, or is that the Smallville version? I think that's the Legends of Tomorrow version, isn't it? Take a look in the Skype chat. Next to the original Justice Society.
Yeah, that's the new one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, and the acting in that scene when they show up is terrible. We are the Justice Society. Yeah, it's like that. It's like, we're the Justice Society of America. Who are you? It's like, no, okay. Just say we're the JSA. Just say that. Or Justice Society. Don't say it sounds so dumb when they say the whole thing like that. I mean, I understand. I like things to be as much like the comic as possible, but sometimes it doesn't always translate well. Don't. God, the acting looks absolutely terrible.
Right.
But we'll see. I don't know. It's not like I have a life anyway.
Well, so it sounds like pretty much as far as the CW side of the fall TV season, more of the same, right? Flash is still interesting and fun. Arrow is kind of, are we going to do something with this? And Legends of Tomorrow is still kind of shaping up to be a train wreck. But we haven't seen Constantine yet, correct?
No. Yeah, I don't know when they're bringing his character in. Now, have you seen any of Gotham?
Yes, and that was the next thing I was going to go to. Is that so the non-CW DC show, even though it's still produced by Warner Brothers, it airs on Fox. Which is kind of ironic given my feelings on Fox. But Gotham, once again, really, really interesting. The only problem I have so far this season, I haven't watched the third episode yet, but I've watched the first two. And my only problem is the same problem I had last season. Why the heck isn't Batman on this show?
Yeah, just put Batman. He's a low-tech character. Yeah. You know, if you can do Supergirl, why the hell can't you do a Batman show? Right. If you can have Superman on Supergirl now, they don't have the excuse, oh, well, we can't do two cinematic characters, one on TV and one on the movies. It's different. Bullshit. You've got a Flash. You're going to do a Flash movie. He's in the Justice League. You know, do Batman on the show. They need to do a time jump on the show.
Absolutely. Well, because the thing that's kind of frustrating me is that they're introducing more and more of Batman's rogues gallery, but at the same time, these are all adults. You know, we have, Penguin is in his 30s, maybe, pushing 40. You have, Riddler, he's probably about 30 or so. You have Poison Ivy, who magically got aged up to or probably mid-20s or so.
Yeah.
You have all these characters that are great and, great classic Batman rogues. And let's not forget how awesome Professor Strange is.
Oh, Hugo Strange is great.
Yeah. And he looks straight out of the comics.
Yeah.
And so they have all these characters that they're fully developed as the rogues of Batman, and yet James Gordon is single-handedly defeating them all. Why does Gotham City need Batman?
Exactly. Yeah. I got to say, the strength of the show is their casting of the villains. The guy who plays Edward Nygma is fantastic. He is absolutely what I would expect. The guy who plays Penguin is fantastic. He's perfect. And this guy that they've been having play the Mad Hatter is fantastic.
Oh yeah, Mad Hatter and the whole and notice they brought in Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
They did.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they killed Black Alice off, which is a shame. But but the fact that they're able to take the character of the Mad Hatter and make him interesting and creepy. And everything. It's frustrating. You're like, I want Batman to fight him.
Right.
I want him to get in there and fight him.
Exactly.
Why?
And the thing is that I could just see, even if you don't, you don't have to make Batman the main character of the film. You still make Jim Gordon the main character of the show, and you can have some interesting things as Batman rises to power and stuff in Gotham, and you have all this stuff going on. You can have, Gordon and Bullock fighting over whether or not what Batman's doing is right or wrong. And same thing with, what's his name? The
Chiklis?
Yeah, Michael Chiklis. All these characters it add a new level of drama to it as they're all disagreeing as to whether or not this Bat vigilante should be tolerated.
Yeah, I mean, if you recall, was it in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a comic book, I think it was called Gotham PD, and it was basically Gotham City from the point of view of the police department, including Gordon and Bullock, obviously. Batman was in it, but, tangentially.
Right.
And so, to me, that's what they really should have done with this show. Nobody gives a shit about young Bruce Wayne in this thing. I really don't. Nothing against the actor or anything, but I don't care. The fact that we've still got 10 more years before you even become Batman, there's no way this show's running for 10 years.
And
it's too expensive.
Right. And even if they did, I'm sorry, this gangly kid is never going to fill into, Ben Affleck size.
No. No, not unless they roid this kid up.
Yeah. I think that if this would be a darn near perfect superhero show if they recast Bruce Wayne as someone who's in his 20s and beginning to be Batman. Because Pertwee as Alfred, love him.
Yeah, he's great.
I love almost all the characters. The only characters I don't like on the show are Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle.
See, I like Selena. I don't mind her, but I think, again, she's too young.
Well, that's one of the problems I have with her, because Catwoman, to me, is supposed to be sexy and everything, and when I'm looking at a 15-year-old girl, I'm not thinking sexy. I'm thinking, why doesn't she have parents? And so... and I get it. I mean, yeah, she's a street rat and all that, but I would think it would be much more interesting to have the Selena Bruce love angle if there was Selena, Bruce, Batman, and Catwoman. And that was actually because one of my favorite and I know you have it because you have like every Batman comic, but like one of my favorite runs of Batman was when Batman and Catwoman partnered up, and they let their romance blossom for a while, and it was interesting. And I remember one of my favorite issues was called "The Bat and the Cat." Do you remember that one?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, the cover has like Batman and Catwoman throwing people through a window together, and it's basically the whole issue is just them out on patrol together for the first time, like as kind of a date. And it was a fun thing to do, and they could do that with this show if they aged Bruce and Selena. But
however,
that's not going to happen.
Yeah, Gotham continues to frustrate me because there's so much right about it and it could be one of the best shows ever if there was just Batman on the damn show.
Yes. So let's talk about other shows. Now, I have to say here, full disclosure, I am extremely angry with Tim over this. And I am angry beyond measure with Tim over this because, last week we couldn't do the show due to technical issues, but the week before, Tim mentioned that he had absolutely fallen in love with the new HBO series Westworld. And so, what I decided to do is like, wow, Tim's really raving about this. And even though sometimes Tim is crazy with what he raves about, like his Italian horror crap, but maybe he's onto something here. So I'll check it out. And what I did was I did the free trial of HBO Go, or HBO Now, I think it's called, is their streaming service, and watched the first episode. And I am so mad because now I'm going to have to subscribe to HBO for the next 5 years. I say Westworld is absolutely one of the best shows I've seen on television in, gosh, I can't even think of the quality of the show rivals some of my as far as a science fiction show. And granted, I know HBO shows tend to get a better budget and everything, but it's up there with shows like Almost Human, shows like the Battlestar Galactica reboot, shows where they take the material. You can tell that there is an overarching story going on. You can tell that the writers, the actors, the directors, everybody involved in the production is working towards making a quality product. It's not just the fact that they had a budget. It's the fact that every actor delivers. It's the fact that you really feel like you're in a realized world here as opposed to just, it's a Western, but with a sci-fi twist, It is really interesting, and I'm dying to know what. I mean, I watched episode 3 today. Did you watch the third episode yet?
Yes.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts on Westworld now? Since when you talked about it before, you'd only seen one episode.
Yeah, I love it. I put it on par to give you an idea of how much I enjoy it. I put it on par with Hannibal.
Yes,
it's a beautiful show. It's beautifully shot.
I would say Westworld is to sci-fi what Hannibal is to horror.
Yeah. And I love the fact that, how many shows can brag that they've got Anthony Hopkins as a regular?
Yeah.
And he's not just like a cameo either. I mean, he's a significant part of the show.
Well, and let's not forget Scott Glenn's in there too.
Not Scott Glenn, Ed Harris.
Ed Harris. Why did I say Scott Glenn?
They're both wrinkly old white
Yeah, they're
dudes.
both wrinkly. Yeah, but yeah, Ed Harris. And Ed Harris is scary in this.
Oh, he's creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. And not to mention, and what's the name of the idiot that played Cyclops in the X-Men films?
James Marsden. Yeah.
All of a sudden, he can act.
Yeah. When did that happen?
Yeah. How did that happen? I guess those glasses were a little too tight on his head. Tandy.
I enjoy this show a lot. I think that I like the fact that they're taking it in a different direction than the film, because I actually went and on demand they had the original Westworld, which I'd never actually seen.
I was going to say, after we watched the first 2 episodes, we watched Westworld and Future World.
Yeah, the funny thing is I'd already seen Future World before, but I'd never actually seen Westworld. And they take it in a different direction. It's not so much, oh no, the robots are all revolting to kill everybody. It's much more of a study of humanity, and is AI capable of feeling. And it's just, I think it's really interesting. And then you've got the whole mystery with the man in black who wants to find the labyrinth.
Right.
And obviously that's a long-term goal for what the show's going to do.
Right.
But I think it's definitely up there as one of the best shows of the year. Definitely.
So do you think the man in black is human or
no?
Robot? You think he's a robot?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that he is an advanced version. Much like even Rachel Wood.
Well, it could be because in episode 3, of course, it was revealed that Arnold was the co-creator of Westworld, but had been erased from history pretty much, so nobody knew about him. Yeah. And he was trying to accomplish true AI, and maybe the Man in Black was that accomplishment.
Right. That's kind of where I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. And so man, this show is so riveting. It's like the only frustrating thing to me about it is, unlike on Netflix originals or something, you can't binge watch it. You got to wait till the next episode comes out next week.
Yeah.
But oh man, and when the season ends, I know it's going to be a cliffhanger that's just going to make me mad. So thanks, Tim.
You're welcome. I enjoy watching your money go to a big corporation. Yeah. So I want to talk about two horror shows that are on right now. One of which, American Horror Story Roanoke. If you've been watching this show, you know that I've taken real issue with American Horror Story, because I feel that it's with the exception of season 1, it's been extremely sloppy storylines, and it tends to, unfortunately, resort to torture porn, to shock, for shock value. This season has been, in my opinion, a lot more interesting. It's revived my interest in the show. It's supposedly divided into 3 parts, and each time it's going to change direction and concept. And the first third was over as of last week, which was done in documentary style. Where you had the actors talking, like talking heads to the camera, and then you had different actors portraying supposedly their experience. And that to me was interesting. I really enjoyed it. Other than Kathy Bates and a really terrible New England accent that she's attempting to do, it's painful because it comes and goes, and when it's there, it's bad. But wisely they relegated Lady Gaga to an almost dialogueless performance.
That would be a plus to you, isn't it?
Yes. And so I don't know if it's going to end up being great, but halfway into the season, it's at least kept my interest because it's been totally different. The one that's really gotten my attention, though, that I've really, really liked, and I don't hear a lot of press about it, which is a shame because it's very interesting and very different. It's on the Sci-Fi Channel, and it's called Channel Zero, Candle Cove. And it's based on the creepypasta story online of Candle Cove. And I guess Channel Zero will have 6-episode seasons with a different theme each season, kind of like American Horror Story. Mm-hmm. And this one is about a creepy kids show in the 1980s that was on for a very brief amount of time, that was done with puppets. And it was on at the same time that a bunch of children went missing. And this guy who was one of those kids, now he comes back to his hometown as an adult, and this whole thing starts up again with the Candle Cove on TV. These are so creepy, and it's so well done. Usually when you think sci-fi series, you think garbage.
Right.
Most of the stuff on sci-fi is chintzy and campy. This is so well done and so creepy. There is a creature on this show who is entirely made of children's baby teeth. It is so disturbing and creepy. It's like when you see this thing, you see him from a distance, it's like a white, faceless, a humanoid kind of thing. And then you see it close up and you're like, oh shit, it's a guy made of teeth. It has no face except for a mouth, like a gash for a mouth, and it's all teeth. And when you watch, you kind of hear the teeth crunch on the ground, and it's so disturbing. And you absolutely need to find this on on demand. It's up to episode 3 now.
What's it called again?
It's called Channel Zero, Candle Cove.
Channel Zero, Candle Cove. I want to see if I can find a picture of that baby teeth thing.
Yeah, and as Firefly, Smile Time was humorous. This is not at all. It's very disturbing.
And so what channel is this on?
Sci-Fi.
Okay. So do you know if it's going to be on any streaming service?
I don't know if it's going to be on a streaming service. I know it's on demand.
Okay.
But you don't have cable, so...
Right. Yeah. Stupid cable.
But yeah, it's definitely original in that I don't know where it's going, and I like that. Mm-hmm. And it's got some good performances on it. Fiona Shaw is really good as the lead character's mom, and Paul Schneider, who was in the first 2 seasons of Parks and Rec, is our lead, and he does a great job, much better than he did on Parks and Recreation. And I'm looking forward to the second season of it too, because it definitely shows an original outlook, and the story is definitely not going in a direction that I know where it's going. So I like that. I like being surprised.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that there is another show that kind of surprised me, and this one I was honestly not expecting much from, but and again, it's kind of funny because it is in the horror genre, but that is the new network show, The Exorcist.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, have you been watching it?
I haven't seen it yet. I've got so many things piled up on my DVR that I'm trying to catch up on.
I have to say that this, now, granted, it's a network show, so we're not going to get the kind of hardcore, gore that you might get from a Sci-Fi or an HBO or something like that. But Gina Davis is really good in it, and the whole supporting cast is really interesting. It's a high-quality show. And I was expecting it to be schlocky. My only real gripe, if you could call it that, about the show is the fact that they don't use the Tubular Bells song. They
use it on the commercials though.
And they play it briefly in episode 1, but only briefly, and that's it. And now who knows, maybe when things get going, they may bring it back, but this is definitely kind of like with Westworld and a lot of more now the modern serialized shows. This is a slow burn show. But I like the way they're going with it. You have the main priest is a conflicted person because he's kind of has a soft spot for this one girl who you can tell he wants to be inappropriate with. And And then there's the exorcist himself. Was just excommunicated from the church because he had the nerve to put the safety of the girl who's obviously being possessed ahead of the interests of the church. And so there's some interesting political stuff going on. The priests are trying to figure out a way to help this girl, but they're woefully ill-equipped for dealing with it. Meanwhile, as kind of a background story, the Pope is getting ready to make a visit to New York while this is happening. And it seems like there's this huge rise in demonic activity in the area, and this girl just happens to be the focus of it. So I got to say, I was expecting it to be just really schlocky, and it's like, oh, they're just trying to cash in on the name The Exorcist, but it really is interesting. I'm enjoying it so far. You should check it out when you get a chance. I assume you can see it on demand, and you should check it out.
Yeah, I've actually heard good things, so I'm at some point I will get around to it. I think there's a couple of shows that I currently watch that I might end up dumping. So just because they've just become boring and not entertaining as much as they used to be. But
and then that brings me one other show that I want to mention, and this one I know that will get me in some hot water with some of my more Christian friends, because from a Christian perspective, this is a horrifically bad show in some ways, but it's very interesting, and certain shows you kind of have to take with a grain of salt. You have to realize that they're not trying to seriously suggest things are. And that is another DC show, but most people don't even realize it's a DC show, and that is Lucifer.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now Lucifer is, and because the theology of it is completely out of whack. I mean, there's as far as, even though his name is Lucifer and he is supposed to be the devil, that's as far as the similarity between what you see in the show and any kind of Christian theology. That's where it ends. Because God apparently in this has a wife. Lucifer is their son, and he has a brother, Amenadale, who's an angel. They haven't mentioned Jesus or anything, so I don't know, what the deal is with that. But I mean, it's just like completely messed up. But the thing that I find interesting about the character of Lucifer, and this is to me more a statement about not the biblical devil or anything deeply religious, but the caricature of Lucifer that's evolved over the years from quote unquote pop culture. Things like Dante's Inferno influences people's thoughts on the devil and hell more than the Bible does. And, classic works of art, which have nothing to do with the Bible, is what people think of when they think of the devil. And so they decided to kind of take a different spin on it, where, well, the devil was in hell doing his thing, not because he's evil, not because he likes people suffering, but because he craves justice. And then he gets sick of torturing people in hell, so he takes a vacation and goes to Los Angeles, and he ends up befriending a police officer, and he finds that he gets his kicks out of helping the police solve unsolvable crimes.
It's a kind of a goofy premise.
Yeah, it really is. It's a silly idea, but
now Satan's solving crime.
Yeah, and that's why I say, I know that for some people, if you are a deeply religious person and you cannot stand when people make fun of aspects of your religion, I would not recommend the show. I would avoid it like the plague if that type of thing offends you. However, if that type of thing doesn't offend you, be it because you are a non-believer or because you can understand the difference between the biblical Lucifer and the pop culture Lucifer, this is a parody of the pop culture Lucifer, and I think it is hilarious in what they've done, and interesting in some respects. would I recommend it as a theological study? Oh, heck no. But oh no.
No.
The Exorcist is closer to that than this, but it is an interesting show, and it's a well-made show. And so if you like dark comedy, this is a ticket for that.
So let me ask you, speaking of I guess faith-based kind of shows or religion-based, have you seen The Good Place?
The Good Place? No, I have not. Is that
it's a sitcom on NBC, the one where Kristen Bell dies and she goes to heaven, but she got sent there by mistake.
She got sent to heaven by mistake?
Yeah, because she was a terrible person in real life, and because she's there in heaven, things start going wrong because she's affecting the very fabric of reality. It's created by the guy who created The American Office and Parks and Recreation, and Ted Danson is Michael, the head angel, and it's definitely an interesting show.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, for a comedy, it's really not laugh out loud funny. It's more, it's amusing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually more interesting in a theological sense, because according to this, heaven is neighborhoods that are about 236 people per neighborhood, and they're all made to look like a nice upscale suburb.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go to to get ice cream, the different flavors are things like fully charged cell phone battery. So when you taste it, it's like, wow, it makes me feel like I've got the confidence when my phone was fully charged. I mean, it's a really bizarre show. It's not so much laugh out loud, but it is an interesting show. And I was interested to find out if you'd seen it, because
no, I hadn't heard of it.
I'd kind of like to find out what you think of the
Good Place, huh?
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem is, and I might check it out, but and it does look like it's on Hulu, actually.
It is, yeah.
The thing about theological studies, if you will, in media, there's generally speaking only two things you can find. Either people who know nothing about it that just try to come up with ideas based on things we've heard as kids from Sunday school and try to make it a good story about it. That's kind of what I think of with shows like Lucifer, that there's obviously no real attempt at examining what's actually, in the Bible or the Quran or any other religious documents. Instead, it's just kind of a farce. But where I think it gets uncomfortable for me is when they try to take it serious, like this is how it really is or something.
Yeah.
And the problem is that
participating in all three.
Then you have
that brings to an end this year's
productions produced by religious individuals, and they don't know how to make good media. Unfortunately, if you look at some of the best produced quote unquote Christian film or television, for example, I do think the one success I've seen as far as Christian television would be something like the early episodes of the Veggie Tales. And that's honestly, as silly as that may sound, that's, I've yet to see a really good show based on theological ideas. As far as film, you end up with crap like, the Left Behind movies or the Left Behind remake, if you really want to go downhill. And these are big budget films. Then you have films like God's Not Dead, which basically come across as a paper thin propaganda film. And it's frustrating for me as both a lover of entertainment media and a believer, is that why can't anybody get it right? Why can't you stick to the source material and make something interesting? Why is there no MCU of religious film? As silly as that sounds, if you look at some of the big budget films that are considered classics, films like the Ten Commandments. Don't get me wrong. I don't think the Ten Commandments is a horrible film. I think it's a good movie. However, as a person that would be interested in someone trying to actually take the source material, because and if you're talking about religion, and I'm sorry for going on this long tirade about it, but I think it's actually an interesting topic. But the source material is literally sacred. And it doesn't matter, granted, I am a Christian, and so I would feel that way about the Bible. But then, if you were doing a movie about Muhammad, which of course that would be sacrilegious in and of itself because of certain beliefs that the Muslims have, or about Muslim beliefs, or about any other religious system, and you were trying to take it seriously, then you have to take it seriously. And when I mention the Ten Commandments, part of the reason that one of the most frustrating things about that film is that people know more about Moses from that movie than from the Bible.
That's very true.
And
Moses is Charlton Heston.
Well, not only is Moses Charlton Heston, but Moses commanded, basically went before Pharaoh and made all these demands and stuff. And I don't know if you know this, because I know you're not a religious person, but Moses didn't say jack. Moses had a speech impediment, and his brother Aaron did all the talking. But in movies like the Ten Commandments and more modern films where they've tried to portray Moses and stuff, Aaron is just kind of the side character. Oh yeah, I'm his brother. Bye.
So it's kind of like Cyrano. He was like, say this.
Well, if you look at, and I do think it would be interesting, because if somebody actually did a biblically accurate Moses movie, people would be scratching their head going, wow, this is not the Moses that I know. They made it all up because they were actually but yeah, Moses, when everybody knows the big thing where Moses met God via the burning bush, and God instructed Moses that he was to go and free the Jews. Well, Moses, the first thing out of his mouth in the Bible is that, that he has a speech impediment. He's not the right person. And then God said that, Aaron would be at his side. And so Moses was a prophet in that God spoke directly to Moses. God sent his, commands to Moses. Then Moses would whisper it to Aaron, who would in turn demand it of the Pharaoh. That's never been portrayed in a film. And why not? Because we always talk about, especially, when we look at big characters and larger than life characters, one thing we always try to do is humanize them a bit. Well, that would actually kind of be interesting to humanize Moses in that respect. And I know I went on a big old tirade. I'm getting James and Tim mad at me now. But I do think it would be interesting to do that. But there's no, like with, and the reason I was relating this to the MCU is the thing that makes the MCU work so well is that they respect their source material deeply. The thing that makes every DC attempt fail so far is that they don't respect their source material deeply. And I think that it would be interesting if somebody actually did something like that on religious or any other topic. Instead of trying to alter things to do what you think would be hip or what the kids would like these days, instead of doing that, how about you just focus on what made it great?
Trump initiating personal
and
so
that's what Marvel's
put her
done.
on the offensive.
And guess what? They're making billions of dollars doing it. And
yeah, they Marvel respects its audience, and that's why they're doing so well. And DC unfortunately has chosen to take the cynical route.
Yeah.
Um,
And Firefly, you were banned again for even mentioning Exodus, Gods and Kings during my Moses tirade.
I thought that was the most realistic Bible movie ever, right?
Yeah. Oh. Well, you're forgetting. No. The best has to be Russell Crowe's Noah. Come on.
Well,
Did you see that one?
no.
Oh, dude.
Two-fisted Moses.
Yeah,
Noah.
Yeah, Noah in this one, he literally he builds the ark, he brings the animals on board, and then he becomes a horror slash horror movie killer, where he's running around the ark chasing his daughter-in-law who has newborn babies so that he can kill the babies.
What?
Yes, I am serious. That is in the movie.
Oh my God. What in the...
I think they strayed a little bit from the source material on that one.
Yeah. Okay. I don't even know what to say to that.
I know. Well, that's the funny thing is I watched that movie and I'm like, when he is literally chasing her around to kill her babies, I'm like, what is this? What happened here?
Well, it's a little known fact that Noah is Hebraic for Jason.
Yeah.
For Voorhees.
Yes. And what you don't realize is the flood was a if you look at the translation, it says that the waters rose and became a crystal lake.
Oh my God. Why?
And I think Tracy is like, really that, and yes, it is actually, if you actually, here's the fun thing to do. And I know, even if you're not religious, look up the original story of Noah and the flood and the ark and all that from Genesis, read it, and then watch Russell Crowe's Noah. It's Mystery Science Theater territory.
Wow. Speaking of which, they've wrapped up season 11 and it's going to be on Netflix, I believe, in February or March.
I have it on my watch list and I cannot wait until it launches. That is one I will definitely be binging. All right. So, Tim.
Yes.
This has been a night of tirades and, but we start
and that's not even the debate.
Yeah. Now after this, we get to watch the winner of the Gem Award. We'll see. But you picked a movie, didn't you?
I did.
And it's Hillary's America.
Oh, jeez, dude. That one. When I was at the Best Buy, they had that on the rack. Nobody bought it though. It was interesting. No, I just got this, and boy, I gotta say, if you're a David Lynch fan like I am, this is absolutely just beautiful, and it's the complete Twin Peaks. Plus, it also has the Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me movie. All of it's restored. And I mean, it looks absolutely beautiful in HD, and it's also got what's called 90 the missing pieces. It's 90 minutes of deleted and alternate scenes from the movie, and it's just it's really remarkable the job that they did on this. And I got it because I wanted to get refreshed because the new series is coming up in 2017, and it reminded me just how much I missed this show. For me, this was Hannibal of 1990. This was the show that for me was the first time that I ever saw anything on network television that looked cinematic. And it's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Cool. Well, once in a generation.
Oh shit.
comes a movie so epic, so powerful, so moving, yay, so life-changing that it becomes something that is truly coins the term instant classic. And of course, Tim, you know what I'm talking about. You're watching the screen. I know you can't wait till I hold up this classic. You have bated breath that I am actually going to talk about.
Oh!
Screw that.
Oh, no.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Back when Steven Spielberg was at the top of his game.
Hold on, I have to say though. First, you had an actually purchased copy of Ghostbusters.
Oh,
what the hell are you doing with that?
Don't forget, my friend. It will soon be joining my Fant 4-stick on the Wall of Shame.
Yeah, but you paid for it.
Well, I only got the DVD version, and
my God.
Well, I'm going to do. I'm thinking about doing a massive barbecue, where I'm going to have that and Star Trek Beyond.
Oh God.
And possibly Suicide Squad. And just have like this beautiful bonfire of crap. And so that's going to be like. A wonderful, wonderful feeling. Just the watching the ash go into the air. Yeah. And anyway, but no, seriously, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. If you have not seen it, the thing about this movie, this was Steven Spielberg at his finest, and unfortunately, Steven Spielberg hasn't been at his finest for a long, long time. The amazing thing about this movie, it's the story is basically of a guy who has contact with aliens and then becomes obsessed with meeting these aliens, which of course happens in the climax of the film. And one of the things that's really impressive is not just the story is good, the music is great, everything about the film is well done. And like I said, it is Spielberg at his best. But it's the visuals of this film. This is what really made Spielberg jump out as, wow, how, people that saw this movie were completely blown away. Because most people don't, when this movie came out in 1977, and when you see the visual effects of this film, you have to keep in mind, they just digitally. No, there was no digital effects. A lot, most of the stuff, all of this stuff was by today's standards practical. And some of the things that they do in it are just incredible. I remember the first time you see an alien ship, it was just simple lighting was the whole trick. You've seen Close Encounters, I assume.
Oh yeah, I saw it in the theater. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so you remember there's the part where, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name, the lead actor in the film.
Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss. He's driving down the road, and as he's driving, you see behind him, some headlights come onto the road behind him, and then they turn off, and then some other headlights come onto the road behind him and turn off, and then another set of headlights come up behind him and then stop and then go straight up. And you oh crap, that wasn't a car, yeah. and it's little things like that. When they do that, the visual effects are so seamless that you're like, you think that it's really happening. And so if you have not seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind, you absolutely have to see this movie. This is the as far as I'm concerned, one of the finest films of the 70s. Mic drop. Hey, Unfriended 2, Hickory Dickory Death is, that one, we need to do a special on that.
Well, I got to be honest, Hickory Dickory Death was actually an alternate title for a Agatha Christie Hercule Poirot novel.
That would be a good title for Unfriended 2, though.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked Canadian Boogaloo.
Oh, good. Canadian Boogaloo. If anything you can remember from tonight's show, it's remember Canadian Boogaloo. Because, Andrew is the biggest fan of the Unfriended franchise. We know it's going to be, and in fact, my understanding is that Andrew will actually be in Unfriended 2.
Yes.
And so I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, so next week we're going to have an action-packed show of something. But don't forget that there's a couple of things real quick. Don't leave us yet because there's a couple of things I do want to tell you about. Number one, we are doing a charity event on the 5th of November. That's right. Just a few days before we elect either a giant douche or a turd sandwich to the White House. The fat overlords, that would be me, Tim, James, and anybody else we can muster to help us out here, are going to spend 24 hours or close to it doing online streaming for charity. We haven't worked out all the details yet. It will be on the Gaming Heretic channel. It may also be on this channel. Haven't worked out all the details of that. But we do hope you will join us at least during part of that live stream because it's for a good cause. We're trying to raise money to help kids with cancer and, not help kids get cancer, help kids with cancer. And so, the ones that
Julian
need cancer,
Assange's
that's
internet
easy.
has been cut.
But
wow.
Now, our goal is, James, do we have an official goal yet for when you're going to get a tattoo?
I was thinking, I don't know, 5,000. I don't know. We'll
okay,
have to discuss it.
So our goal right now is tentatively set at $5,000. If we can raise a total of $5,000, and by the way, Andrew, that is 5,000 American dollars. So if we can raise 5,000
real money,
yeah, not that Monopoly money. If we can raise $5,000, then James is going to get a tattoo of a My Little Pony on his butt.
Yeah, Pinkie Pie.
Yeah, or something to that effect. He's going to get a tattoo and cry like a baby, and we're going to videotape the whole process because it's going to be hilarious. And so please join us for that. This weekend, of course, we'll be doing the Skeptics and Believers show on the Skeptics and Believers channel. So be sure to join us for that, where we're going to be talking about the Giant Douche and Turd Sandwich and their battle royale that's going on even as we speak. And, of course, there's a couple other things. Now, on November 4th, just the day before we do our 24-hour marathon, we'll probably be doing a show, at least me and Tim and anybody else we can get to join us, talking about The Doctor. The strange Doctor. Because that is going to be the movie of the winter season. And also, November 8th. Yes, November 8th. Be here live as we will probably be drinking heavy amounts of alcohol because, let's be real, no matter who wins, we lose. And so it's like Alien versus Predator. And in fact, you could say...
Yes, it's just like Alien versus Predator.
It really is just like Aliens versus Predator. We're going to build a wall to keep the aliens out. No, they're super predators. It's Alien versus Predator. So be sure to join us for that as well. So we got a lot of cool stuff happening. And I cannot wait to see the look on Tim's face if Trump wins, because that's just going to be one of those great moments. Just the tears and
all you're going to see is you'll see my feet swinging in front of the camera.
All right, so this has been the Untitled Show about nerdy stuff. We are nerds without titles because that's how we roll.